Hey, this is Heidi Dawson. If you love all things health and wellness and style of any kind, hang out here with me each week. I'm obsessed with never-ending improvement, and it's all in an effort to help each one of us live a wildly successful lifestyle. Subscribe today so you don't miss a thing. Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 411 of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. It's good to be with you. I hope you're feeling good and taking care of yourself and doing your absolute best to be the best version of you that you can possibly be, because there's no one just like you. We're all so very similar, though, in our humanness. Your perspective on life and how you act on that depicts the overall trajectory of your life, and so does mine. So it feels really good to be confident in who you are. I mean, when you're confident in who you are, you feel a lot less threatened by who others are, and also less inclined to worry about what others think about who you are. I mean, the people that have that confidence, I just find them to have this honesty and vulnerability about them that is so refreshing. We were having dinner with friends recently, Jerry and Lena, at a new restaurant. Now, the food was good and the atmosphere was decent. So we're all finishing dinner. And when the waiter has gone to process our payment, Jerry just kind of says laughingly, "So who else is going to eat again when they get home?" Eric just laughed and I laughed. And he said, Eric actually was like, "Yeah, I'm still kind of hungry." I had noticed that the portions were a little small, but I really loved his comment and I laughed so hard at it, because even if I had have still been hungry, which I actually wasn't, I would never have said out loud that I was going to eat again when I got home. The simple honesty of that statement was really refreshing, because a lot of times we have these thoughts, but we don't say them. So it kind of makes us feel like we're not alone when someone does. And another time before we went, actually, that same night before we went to eat, we had gone to see the movie The Boys in the Boat. Now, I talked about reading this book. It was really good. I encourage anyone who likes to read it. But I talked about that in a recent episode. But when we were talking about the book before the movie, my friend Lena said, when you were reading the book, did it make you feel like you just wanted to go out and row a boat somewhere? I laughed because it so did. I mean, that was my thought throughout the whole book, was how it made me want to do that. But again, I wouldn't have said it probably, because I have an idea of an image of what I present to people and what sometimes I think in private. But I really do value authenticity. And so I love people who are authentic and refreshing honest, and I feel like they are our friends. Now, I notice at times that I feel like I'm an outlier, or I think weird thoughts, but I would never say them out loud for fear of judgment. But in reality, that's one of the things that I also notice that I love about most people that I hang out with, that they're real and they don't feel the need to be someone they aren't, but they also kind of give me permission to be who I am too. Feels good to be around that type of person. Feels good to be around people that like that, because everything is real. We were at a party recently. We ended up talking to a new couple that we hadn't spent a lot of time with. I'd seen her at the gym, but we never really had talked. So I had an idea in my head about her, and what was actually the real version of her was so different. She had on this really cool shirt that was sexy and classy at the same time. And when I complimented it, she said, "Oh my goodness, thanks. I don't normally dress like this. I don't normally wear anything. I'm normally 90% of the time in gym clothes," to the point to where when I came out with this outfit on, my 19-year-old daughter looked at me and said, "Are you going to really wear that out?" And she just laughed about it. It was so refreshing. No airs, no pretense, just real. It made me realize how often I curb myself from saying things I think for fear that other people will judge me, when in all reality, they may be thinking it too, or at least something along the same lines. Now, I know why I do this. It's from growing up in a religion built almost solely on judgment of everything you said or did, to the point where you had to hide any unapproved thought for fear of being pulled into the back room to have to explain or answer for it. And old habits die hard, but die they will if you recognize you have them and then you work on making new ones. So I confess a lot of things to you guys that listen to my podcast, and I thank you for letting me be real. I don't feel judged. I feel seen, and I hope in a way it makes you feel seen too. Those thoughts you have, the ones you think are crazy or unique to you, more than likely I have them too, or someone else does. It's refreshing for someone to be honest and vulnerable because it lets you know they're comfortable with who they are, which in a way gives you permission to be comfortable with who you are. Not that you need permission, but some of us, me included, may just need to be reminded that we're worthy and loved just as we are, flaws and all. I bet most of us at some point or another growing up had someone judge us or withhold love from us if we weren't exactly what they wanted us to be. And if that happens too much, you start sort of hiding who you are. You may start morphing your outer shell into something that's acceptable to every single person you come in contact with for fear you'll be rejected. And in the meantime, you get so far detached from who you really are that you have no idea anymore. So you often look to others to help you decide. That's an awful lot of responsibility for someone else and a lot of uncertainty and confusion for you. Eric and I spent a recent rainy Saturday afternoon in our local bookstore. I love doing that. We had lunch there, and then we just browsed looking for a great book that we could go home and read. So I actually, Eric and I both could spend hours in the bookstore just looking around. And as we were making our decisions on books we were going to get, I noticed that I had a little bit of embarrassment by my book choice and wondered what Eric would think. And then I was reminded, as I often am with him, that he loves me for who I am. I don't have to hide from him. That's something, it's an old habit of mine. So I showed him my book choice and asked him what he thought. He does exactly what I would expect him to do. He simply looks at the title and then pulls up his phone and he checks the ratings on the book on the internet to see if it did well. And it did. He didn't judge me on my book choice at all. He just wanted me to have the best experience possible. So he checks the ratings. He's so logical, and I love that about him. Now, he may not be interested in my book, but that doesn't have to have any bearing on me wanting to read it. But I'm proud that I'm noticing that it's my issue, not his. In the past, I might have maybe been a little irritated at him because I felt judged, simply because I was creating in my head that he was judging me when he wasn't. Not at all. I guess old habits do die hard. But the only way they die is if you notice them and replace them with a new habit. Being comfortable with who you are is one of the best feelings I think I've ever felt. It's becoming my norm, but I still have moments where I revert back to the little girl who morphed into something other than she was to be deemed acceptable. And that used to be my comfort, knowing that I could morph to be acceptable. The funny thing is now it actually makes me very uncomfortable when I notice myself hiding a thought or morphing myself to fit in. I don't want to fit in if it means I have to be something I'm not. That's inauthentic. And for someone who highly values authenticity, of course that would be uncomfortable. The good thing about it is I'm noticing it is now a knee-jerk reaction to a long-held habit that I created growing up in a judgmental religion. But just the fact that I notice it, it's a huge step. That means I'm well on the road to changing it. My challenge to you this week is to notice when you feel the need to hide who you are and ask yourself, what would happen if I simply was authentically who I am without needing for others to approve, appreciate, or agree? People are starving for utter honesty. Try it. It really is quite refreshing. Share this with 3 people who make you feel like you can be you without hiding. I love you guys. I'll talk to you in a few days. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends, because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together, and I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.